Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. The record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
The record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Friday, the 18th day of May 2018. And for all of those who have been waiting all week for Friday to come, it is here. Friday is here. Then you'll be looking forward to 4 or 5 o'clock, whatever time you get off work. Either head home. Some of you will head to happy hour. Some of you may have to go to work on Saturday. Some may have to go to work on Sunday. So it may not be a weekend for some, while it may be a resting period for others as well. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening, an enjoyable night. We got some precipitation this morning as well. Welcome that also. And I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman. Sorry. And it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orit Connor. You're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Phone lines are always open, and there is always someone there waiting to take your calls. This morning, it is the radio voice of Mr. Paul Akai. You can call us on our toll-free number, provided courtesy of Flow. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Of course, if you don't like to talk on the telephone, you can email us at fortherecord. That is one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. And better yet, we have a WhatsApp number, 925-3261, where you can leave a voice note or send us a text message. If you send us a voice note, the contents of that voice note will be played during the course of the show. But do not expect us to answer that phone line. We do not answer that number at all. We accept voice messages and text messages as well. Today being Friday, we're expecting to have someone from the opposition on the show because they are always scheduled to be on. We know that the leader of the opposition, Honorable Ezra Miller, is in the UK. I think he may still be in the UK, and I believe Mr. Christopher Saunders has accompanied him as well. So I'm not sure what's happening, but we'll soon know. But in that regard, if we don't have anyone from the opposition on this morning, we still have lots to talk about. Let me also take this opportunity to again send out condolences to all of those persons who have lost loved ones during the course of the week. Just before the close of the show on Wednesday, I had been advised of the passing of Mr. Ray Welcome. That has been confirmed now, and I'd like to extend condolences from the Radio Cayman family to the family of the late Mr. Ray Welcome as well. And while I'm at it, I'd also like to wish a happy birthday to my sister this morning, Aline Campbell. My sister, it's her birthday today. I won't tell you her age, but I will tell you that she's older than I am. I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest of the crew, the only boy and the youngest of the crew. So she's older than I am. Want to wish her a happy birthday, as well. I believe we have one caller already, so let's go to the phone lines. First caller for the morning. Good morning. Welcome to
Yeah,
For the
good,
Record.
good morning.
Morning, Doc. How are you?
Good. I'd like to offer my condolences to Mr. Ray Welcome's family. And also, I'd like to wish Arlene a happy birthday. I know she might just be a tit older than me.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
I think
not
she
much.
was around Brother George's age.
Yeah, that's like 1 year and 9 months older.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was around his age. Yeah, the reason I'm calling this morning, see, first of all, I would like to let you know that if you would like me to talk on your, be a guest on your show to talk about crime and policing from a sociological perspective at any time, you can invite me and
Okay.
I'll show up.
I'll make a note. I'll make a note of that. Definitely.
Because I know there are quite a lot of interesting issues that are popping up that makes our history and our understanding of our psychic and our sociology more important in terms of the way in which we address issues. Many times we're missing that historical perspective that is so essential in terms of how we look at things and how we decide, in fact, where we're going with our country. But I wanted to comment this morning with regards to the 60th anniversary of our coat of arms.
Uh-huh.
I'm wondering, why is it that it's not being celebrated here in the Cayman Islands, or is it being celebrated here also?
Yes,
simultaneously or afterwards?
It will be celebrated afterwards here. I think the launch was taken place. The launch took place in the UK, but it will be celebrated here in the Cayman Islands as well. Yes.
And will that celebration go for a year or with a month, or do you have any idea of what the plans are?
No idea, but I will check during the course of the show, and I will certainly point out what the situation is with that. I think I have a few emails in that regard as well.
Because I think it would be a good idea if the government actually considered doing quite a few things locally. Because I just did a tour, or was taken on a tour, because I had some guests from abroad, and I went on a tour at Pedro St. James. And we call him the tax man. He's the tour guide.
Yes.
And he delivers a very impressive, what we say, lecture on the history of Pedro St. James, and as a matter of fact, the history of the Cayman Islands in the early years. And one of the things that really impressed me, because it was the second time I was there in the little theater there, and I don't know if you know, you've been there, right?
Yes, I have. Yes, Doc. Mm-hmm.
The sound effects that they have in it, with the rain and how, with Consuelo's voice on tape.
Right.
She's the one who's orating, narrating the story. Now, I think that the lady needs to be a little bit sort of remembered. Consuelo did so many great things for art and culture and heritage in the Cayman Islands. She lived it. That was what Consuelo was all about. And I think that if they could, in this particular remembrance of the coat of arms, because all she did with the seamen, the national bulk carriers story, and all of that sort of stuff, what she did at the cultural foundation, because many of us that are involved over a very long period of time, people don't know the kind of sacrifices you make in your life, maybe because you love it anyway and you're getting rewarded because you love something. But at the end of the day, people give up their very precious time and imagination to have been able to at least stimulate at a very early part of our development, to stimulate an interest in things Caymanian. And Consuelo was one of those persons, and I just wish that they would do something during this year's celebration of the Court of Arms to remember people like Miss Consuelo Divine. And so that was what I really wanted to find out this morning, is whether or not they were going to do something, whether or not they're going to engage people who have been engaging their culture, who have been engaging their heritage, not just in a sort of mythological fashion, but also in a critical fashion, so that we can find the best parts of who we were to become part of who we are now today. So I'll leave you there, O.J.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc.
To the invitation.
Yes, I have made a note of it. It will probably be on a Wednesday because we have a free Wednesday. Kenneth comes on every other Wednesday. So the Wednesday that he isn't on is usually free. So I'll try to arrange something for that.
Okay, O.J. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Doc. I think we have one more caller we can accommodate before we go to our first commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. How are you?
I'm fine. Morning. How are you?
I'm George. It's a beautiful day, man. It's a gorgeous day, so I decided to call into your gorgeous show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Two little things. I recently had the opportunity to go to Little Cayman. I live here most of my life, and I didn't go there till first time was a few weeks ago. But I tell you what, that island should be part of a development plan by the government, that it must be maintained in the pristine condition that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it cannot be allowed to be developed or actually overdeveloped. Because I tell you, I went there, and as I disembarked from the little plane, which was itself just ideal for that for that island. You really don't need anything more, because it gives you the mystique and the feeling that you're going back in time, and that's exactly what happened to me. I was transferred to 1960, and really the lifestyle. I tell you, when I left there on the Sunday, I felt like I had a whole week of massage. It was just totally relaxing. And I want to say that island should be, we should have some sort of commitment and a plan from government to certainly confirm that they have no intention, and perhaps it might be inscribed in some law that the Little Cayman will be maintained forever, unless the people there decided that they want to have it some other way. But I think it should be in a law. That's why I think it needs to be in a law. To have it protected for perpetuity, that island must be maintained in the pristine condition that it is right now. The second thing I want to call about, I am forming, and I'm drafting the bylaws, and I'm getting some help from other people. I'm forming a consumer protection agency, and the bylaws of it is going to be wide enough that it could be enlarged into a people's workers union. So probably Mr. Dr. Frank is calling about coming on to one of your free Wednesdays. I haven't heard no other talk show where the callers call in big to get on your show, but probably you could save one of those Wednesdays for me as well. I want to come and talk about that our protection agency, the Consumer Protection Agency. I want to formalize it, because the next time we have a march, I don't want to be the one who's always leading these marches. I want to have a properly structured organization where we can have elections and we can elect leaders and members.
And would that agency serve more like a watchdog and monitor the situation?
Yes.
An advocacy group?
Exactly. And it would be divorced from, some people believe that the Chamber of Commerce is the ideal vehicle to do it. But the Chamber of Commerce seems to be geared more towards membership and perhaps the business sector. I hope I'm not out of place by saying that.
No, I would tend to agree with you. I think they would be basically conflicted out of it, really.
Yes, exactly. So this is, for use of a better word, geared towards the little man on the street. And I'm going to be happy to form it. And I hope one day to be leading a people's workers union in the Cayman Islands. We need it. The workers need protection. We need to have the ability to band together, not just Caymanians, but every single legal resident of these beloved Cayman Islands, Jamaican, Honduranians, Filipinos, Cubans, South Africans, Nigerians. We have 140 plus nationalities here, all 140 nationalities of those countries who enjoy the tranquility and the peace and loving and the order of this country can be members of that union. We need to have a workers' union where we can all speak with one voice and we can get things done. And perhaps one day, again, if I'm not out of place, we can determine who will be the government of this country. That's how powerful I intend to make this union.
Okay.
So probably one day, one Wednesday, you can have me on when it is better formulated. I hope to have the bylaws to a stage where I can file it next week, and thereafter obtain a trade and business license, so that I can then, if necessary, employ people as it grows to help run it.
Okay.
But we are going to have a consumer protection agency here, run by the private sector, and in conjunction with the government, working arm in arm with the government to finally get gas prices and every single other price in this country which is unrealistically priced, and it's price gouging going on, and we're going to start to have government enforce or amend or bring into being price gouging legislation. We have it now, but it is only triggered whenever we have a disaster like a Hurricane Ivan.
Yes.
And we need to have a price gouging legislation, which is triggered because people with common sense can tell the government that 1 gallon of milk that costs $1.40 or $2 in Miami, U.S., shouldn't be costing $7 in Grand Cayman.
Yep. Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there, though. We're beyond our commercial break time at this point in time. I've given you a little bit of leeway there, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave us there now. But do let me know where you've reached, as far as the formation of that agency is concerned, because that will determine when we can seek to have you on the show, because we want to have something substantive to talk about, at that point in time, like in terms of the formation and everything. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after this short commercial break. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guest in the studio this morning, so we're going to continue to work the phone lines. We have one caller. I believe we can accommodate one, possibly two callers before the 8 o'clock news. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C.
Morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
And the family?
Good, too.
That's good to know.
That common name, though, Rupert E. Banks. I'm using this media to convey my sympathy to the Tibbetts family and Ray Belcom
Yes.
family, which is the most recent. Ray was a shipmate of mine, or I was a shipmate of his. First trip out with National Bulk, and who's that one? Raymond Benedict.
Okay, yes.
Because they were all my captain. Dad was my partner in dialysis. Raymond, I knew him when I was working immigration. And then Ray was my shipmate. So I want to convey my sympathy to all of them. And thank you for having me express that.
Certainly. I think, and Rabe, he was chief engineer, and I believe one of the last of the Caymanians to actually continue to work at sea. Yes, yeah.
And he was chief engineer on one of the larger ones they had. So, it's going to be a mission to us and to his family. Gay and Baldwin, Ray, all of those are his brothers, and Gay was his wife, so I would like to make her know too that we sympathize. There's nothing else we can do.
Yes, and support emotionally and otherwise.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. Okay, I'll see.
All right, Roops, thank you very much. All the best to you,
Yeah.
As well. Okay, we have no callers. I can preface some of the things that we want to talk about later on during the show. And an article in the Royal Gazette, of course, that's a Bermuda paper, and probably some of you are saying, this OC always talking about Bermuda, always talking about Bermuda all the time. He Bermuda Noah. He think he's Bermuda Noah. I'm sure that people, saying that. No, Bermuda is a good, almost like a foil, not tin foil, but what they talk about when it comes to drama. It's a good foil, a good mirror for us to look at. We almost see ourselves in Bermuda of sorts. And recently, there was a speaker, a gentleman by the name of Gilbert Morris, who was the keynote speaker at the first Bermuda Compliance Professional Conference. And Mr. Morris is actually from the Turks and Caicos Islands as well. And he was a professor at one of the universities in the United States also. But he said at that conference, Bermuda has a right to speak up and protect its world-leading brand in the face of larger countries and organizations pressuring smaller jurisdictions to accept their compliance regulations. Other offshore financial centers that are also regarded as world-leading in the respective fields have a similar right. Gilbert Morris, one of the world's leading experts on financial centers, shared those views when he gave the keynote speech at the inaugural Bermuda Compliance Professional Conference. He said 4 of the UK's overseas territories, including Bermuda, Cayman Islands, and the British Virgin Islands, can rightly claim the description, quote unquote, world leading. In Bermuda's case, it is the world's leading insurance and reinsurance center with a globally recognized reputation achieved through its own innovation and regulatory standards. Professor Morris, speaking at the Hamilton Princess, said that in his travels around the world, he hears Bermuda referenced as a model jurisdiction with its quote-unquote gold standard of regulation from the Bermuda Monetary Authority. Similarly, Cayman Islands and BVI have financial structures that are considered quote-unquote best of brand. However, offshore financial centers face allegations of facilitating tax evasion, Professor Morris said. But when they describe it, they are really describing tax avoidance. He pointed out that every American with a 401k business incorporating in the states such as Delaware, Wyoming, and Arizona, and cruise ship registering in Florida are all forms of legitimate tax avoidance. I will stop there because we have to go to our headline, 8 o'clock news, not a headline news. Headline news comes at 9 o'clock. We're going to go to our 8 o'clock news. Folks, please stay tuned. When we return, we will continue to have open mic if we have no guests in our studios. I'm told that we have one caller on hold, and news may be a little bit long. They may want to call back unless they want to stay on hold during that period. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the news. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have no calls at this point in time, but that caller who was online prior to us going to our 8 o'clock news, we certainly welcome you to call us back. We are certain that it was something important that you wanted to say, and we certainly will ensure that this forum remains available for you to express your views or to make inquiries as well. So prior to the break, I was talking about Professor Morris and his speech at this compliance conference in Bermuda. And I pointed out that Professor Morris, he was a professor at George Mason University. He's also chairman of the Turks and Caicos National Investment Agency and a legal scholar, economist, and author. And he pointed out that constitutions are being breached to satisfy the large G20 countries that are insisting on rules that they do not apply to themselves. And I will come back to this issue of the constitutional breach later on, because when you look at the debate in the House of Commons, and in particular the debate on the 1st of May of this year in the House of Commons on the amendments to the Sanctions and Anti-Money Laundering Bill, we see some members of the UK Parliament expressing their concerns about the breaches of the Constitution, while others basically ignored it completely because they're hell-bent on ensuring that the UK legislates for the Cayman Islands if we do not take the initiative to enact publicly accessible registers of beneficial ownership. So this whole breach of Constitution is a key point, because I believe at the end of the day, if there are any legal challenges to the UK imposing orders on in council on the Cayman Islands, that the challenge will be on constitutional grounds as well. We have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, Jose. Orman here in the West Bay. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
All right. Just a little bit of comment about the officer and gentleman, Mr. Rib Welcome.
Yes.
I joined the ship with him in 1963 at 17 years old. And I got to know Mr. Welcome while I was on the ship. And he taught me a lot of things. He carried himself, like I said before, not just an officer, but a gentleman. And, I spoke to him, I think it was last year sometime. I seen him at the pharmacy, and he was in good spirits and, always held that same friendship that we had on the ship. And, he'll be missing by a lot of people, but I will remember him because, like I said, older Caymanians that was on the ship before we got there taught us a lot of things, and, they sort of protected us as well. And at 17 years old, I mean, it was...
you needed that guidance, yes.
That's correct. That's right. So, I just want to say that, that it's sad that we Caymanians, we're losing a lot of our professional people that really made this island what it is today. So I just wanted to pass that on. And
what was the name of the ship that you first joined? What was the name of that one?
Ormita.
The Ormita. And you ran from what port you ran into?
We ran from Venezuela all the way to Japan, Holland, Philadelphia, Italy, France. We went all the way to Nazca, Peru, Venezuela, all over the place,
And how long did you stay on your first trip? How long were you there? Did you stay?
I think it was like 25 months.
Wow. So you didn't want to go back home?
No, I tell you what. When Christmas came the first year and they changed the orders, had all plans to come home. But Captain Horn changed the orders that instead of going back to Philadelphia, the orders came that we had to take a load to Japan. Myself and the late Alfred Ebanks as well. You remember Alfred?
Yes, yeah,
Good, good friends. And Tiny.
Mr. Alfred was he was a cook on there, right? He was in the galley.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
That's right. Captain Dalton, Jimmy, Roy Dias. Hey, I mean, we were there, man. I mean, they were the days, that bring back memories when you started to talk about them, and it was good days. And if I had the opportunity and I was 17, I would do the same thing again.
Do you still have your Seaman's book? I know I have a good friend of mine in New York, Clarence Forbes. He still has all of his Seaman's books and stuff like that. You still have yours?
One thing that I didn't get from me was my name. And he took some of that too.
I sort of, when I asked the question, I sort of figured that would be the answer. Yes, so many people lost so many, sentimental things of value to them in Hurricane Ivan, unfortunately, yeah.
I tell you, man. And you know what I was making then for the month? $95 for the month.
Yeah.
But that was a lot then.
And how much of that went to the union?
Actually, we had a standing order that we would be sending home $80 a month allotment.
Okay.
Because a lot of time you would get like a little overtime, $120 with overtime, you know, and mopping up tanks and whatever. And
so you take your overtime money and you spend that ashore, but you make that sure that standing order went home.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand where we're coming from. I remember in 1964, you could go in Philadelphia, New Jersey, in those areas. Also, you get a suit of quality American khaki clothes, shirt and pants, $5. You couldn't wear them out, you know. Otis Christian from Cayman back, he was steward, and you know who was there too when that happened there? With Shorty and his brother, what's the name now? It was two brothers, Shorty and what their own name. They're still both alive.
Yeah, you're talking about Shorty that runs the concession at the airport?
No. Brian Dixon in Shorty.
Oh,
Dixon.
yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on the ship when that whole scenario happened with Shorty and the captain and all that, you know, and that's a long story. But, yeah, man, we had some experience, you know, and went through some hard times, but...
So how did you find the Caymanians who were like bosun and chief cook that were your supervisors and stuff like that? You found, because you rarely hear Caymanians talk about other Caymanians giving them a hard time on the ships. You know, few examples of it, but not a whole lot. In most instances, people will remark similarly to what you've said, that, you know, they gave you that guidance, especially, you know, if you were young and things of that nature.
Well, I don't know, but certainly the ships that I was on, the old transport, the old meter, mostly old Titan. But my first trip, I want to say, because after the first trip, you get exposure, you get experience, so you kind of educate yourself, you know. But I was very thankful. I am thankful for the protection of my Caymanian seamen, my Caymanian fellowship who was on a ship with me, Mr. Welcome, Alfred, all of those, because I had a guy from Trinidad, that's where he's from. He was on the deck. And at my early months, then he wanted to exchange places because I would get more experience on the deck. But they said, look, no, you wait till after the winter, then you take up that post. Now we go into Canada, Port Catier, Canada, and you don't want to be on that deck in the winter months. So
yes.
This is where we, you know, our Caymanians, we say a lot about what they did, but let me tell you, what they did to me, I am so grateful and thankful that they did so many kind things and steered me in the right direction. This was the protection that we had, and I cannot say enough about it. And thank God today that I can look back and say, my Caymanians protected me and educated me a lot on the ship with what you have to do, your exposure. So I could sit down and talk about it a long time.
Yeah,
so
well, I'm gonna hold you a little bit longer. I'm gonna ask you one more question before I let you go. Now, being from West Bay, we're all close to the sea in the Cayman Islands, wherever you are. Did you get seasick on your first trip? Because I spent 9 months out there, and we left from Le Havre, France, and the first stop was Cape Town, South Africa. Now, when we got to Le Havre, when we left Le Havre, France, and you coming down the coast of Africa, smooth sailing, I said to myself, this is a piece of cake. No seasick. You know, see, you're in good shape. When we left South Africa and got around the Cape of Good Hope, did I feel it then? Did you get seasick when you first went out, or you were able to make the adjustment right away based on your activities here in Cayman, being on the sea?
No, you're certainly right. My first 2 weeks, sailing out of Philadelphia, the first trip going to Venezuela, going out that river. Oh, yeah, I was just like you. I was feeling good and dandy and everything until she started to hit those high seas. Let me tell you, I wish they had born a fish in a shark had swallowed me, man. But the bigger joke, by the time I got to Venezuela again now, that's like what, 15 days or 11 days, I can't remember, because, that was started in 1963.
Yeah.
Some guys from St. Vincent joined the ship going back now to Europe after we picked up the load of iron ore.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember Kaiwa, West Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Good friend, my good friend.
Oh, yeah. He said, you want to see something there? These guys from St. Vincent. And they now went to see young, like, Caymanians. Some of those guys was up in their 40s, man, the first break. He said, you want to see something? You want to have a laugh? You just hold on a little bit. And, it was not a laughing matter, but you could only laugh. Some of those guys and those boats, they had a 5-gallon container to puke in. I mean, they were so sick. I mean, all we could do, and try to sympathize with them. But, that's part of your experience again. But Caymanians, let me tell you, I am proud to say Caymanians became top-notch as seamen worldwide. And also you had some guys from Norway, some from Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Those Norwegians, they were rumored to be huge guys, big guys. If you got in a fight with them, you had to watch yourself. I was made to understand.
Yeah, but, I don't know, but that ship, everybody sort of worked together.
Mm-hmm.
The Norwegians, the Swedish, the Germans, well, except German, Horn, Captain Horn, that's where that big problem came with the guy there. But he was, a different guy. He likes his little QQ now and again, or every day he would have one or two and come out on deck and kind of make trouble somehow. But anyway, that's part of life, But we had a good time, and anytime you feel like it, maybe we can get together with Dr. Steve as well and sit down and have
this conversation. Yeah. Certainly, people like this, and all those persons who have had experience in the sea will certainly identify with the conversation as well. Caller, Mr. Orman, I want to thank you very much, for the conversation, and good topic for us to switch over to. Sometimes rather than always talking about the financial issues, the constitutional issues, a good switch in gears. Thank you very much for that. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue. No guests in the studio, so this is your opportunity. If you want to get an opportunity to talk as long as Mr. Orman did, don't wait until 9:15 or 20 after 9. This may be the time to do it when I'm a little bit more flexible today. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I have no guest in the studio with me this morning. I also have a press release issued by the office of the Leader of the Opposition that was sent out yesterday. And when I get an opportunity, I will read that to you. But I want to continue with the conversation about Professor Morris, not only a professor, but was also chairman of the Turks and Caicos National Investment Agency. He's also a legal scholar, economist, and author. And speaking at this compliance conference in Bermuda. And told you that he pointed out the fact that constitutions are being breached to satisfy the large G20 countries that are insisting on rules that they do not necessarily apply to themselves. And then he pointed out that he had spoken to a researcher, or he spoke of research by a person by the name of Jason Sharman, a political scientist at Australia's Griffith University. And this political scientist, with a budget of $10,000, sought to find out where and how he could open secret bank accounts and form anonymous shell companies. And he pointed out in his speech that he was unable to do so in Bermuda. He was unable to do so in the Cayman Islands. He was unable to do so in the BVI, but he was successful 5 times in the U.S. and was able to form a company in the UK over the phone and using the a fake name. So again, goes to show you which of the jurisdictions have a much more robust compliance regime as well. And he went on in describing the benefits of small jurisdictions. He said that, and I quote him here, a small country that is well managed has particular advantages over large countries. It's smaller. You can meet regulators with greater frequency. You can get things done much more quickly. The relative costs involved are much lower. And he also pointed out that the fact that our taxes cannot be direct, the fact that we don't have direct taxes, and I hope the tax man is listening to this, the fact that we don't have direct taxes is partly the result of history, because we are islands, we import everything, so we began with customs duty as the normal way for taxation, along with all the fees and the licensing. That was the tax model, and that remains the tax model for many jurisdictions, including the Cayman Islands. And he also pointed out, and because we are small, if we can outpace our need for direct taxation by generating larger fees, then it is an offset that gives us a strategic advantage in terms of our costs. We have taken advantage of that, but we have not been very good at explaining that to the world. I think we have one caller. Let's take the caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. That was an interesting thing that you were just saying there. But what I was going to call, and I'm driving into work, and I heard the gentleman speaking about being to sea and stuff like that. And and I'm going to say that it kind of brought back memories to me as, I would say, a daughter of a seaman. And I think this would be something good for other people on the island to do as well, is, you know, the seamen talk about their memories, but the people that were back home should talk about theirs as well, because I can remember being a little girl and growing up on the hill in East End. My dad was McCrae Pearson, Arundel Pearson. Yeah. And when he went to sea, and I think I'm driving, I'm thinking, you know what, I think that's where I got my love of country music and R&B and what they call Southern Soul, because when they came back home, they would bring home, you know, I can remember my dad with all the 8-track tape, with, you know, all this music and stuff on there, and, you know, you would listen after they got home, because they brought home all this new music, and we would listen to them, you know, like Otis Redding, what is Temptation, you know, all those guys and stuff like that. And I'm like, today, that is the kind of music that, you know, I like to listen to, I guess, because that was at that impressionable age, was the music that we got into, and this was stuff that the seaman brought home with them. And he was talking about the suit for $5 and stuff, and I can remember, you know, all those clothes. You couldn't wear the stuff out, what they brought home. And it was amazing how they could get you, they knew your size too, they knew exactly what size to bring. Yes, it was, and it was always, you know, such a big thing, like, for children. And I have to say, because I had to be probably about 6, maybe 7, and you come home from school one day, and who greets you by the door but your dad, who was gone for months, you know, stuff like that for children back here, because wives will probably remember more, but I think kids, and I'm in my 40s, and I remember that. So I know kids that had parents or fathers that was on ships that were gone for a certain time, you know, and stuff like that. I think it's very interesting when you sit back and reminisce on those times and things that they learned how to do. Because I think my dad was a cook too.
Okay. Many people started out in the galley. Some were fortunate to start off in the engine room as wipers and things of that nature. But many persons started in the galley as what they call messmen then.
Yeah.
And whenever they got an opportunity, go down in the engine room and watch what people are doing. And when a job came up, then they were able to get that job. Now, national bulk carriers may not have in their business model succession planning, but it certainly worked there because many of the seamen were able to improve on the occupation that they were doing on those ships by just learning on board.
Yeah, and I think it was great, and it just wants to show how we as Caymanians, how he's talking, friendly and all that stuff, and it was extended, to the world, and that's one of the things that we, are known for in everything. So I just wanted to put my little tidbit in on that.
Thank you very much.
Of, through the part of being a kid of a human.
Yep. Thank you very much, caller.
This morning.
Thank you. And I'd like to add to that as well. She spoke about, seeing your father, brother, or whatever, whomever, return home and the things that they would bring. And she spoke about the 8-track tapes. And even before that, we had the vinyl records. I remember who we used to call Lil One and Big A. And you may have heard me with this story before. They had a club called Blueberry Hill. And if Mr. George Shillette is listening, he would know about that as well, all related to him. And that used to be, they had that club set up in Mr. Vincent Prendergast's unfinished house right behind their house as well, so the vinyl records. But I remember, some of you may also recall the fact that there were times when some of the national bulk ships were crossing in the area, and they would come in, depending on whether or not they were had a load or they were empty. That would determine how close they could come to shore, and ships would go out there. Sometimes the captain would allow some of the crew members to come on shore, visit their families briefly, and go back. Or other times, boats would go out there, bring whatever the seamen had to send to their families, letters, whatever as well. And we look forward to things of that nature. It didn't happen as frequently as you would like for it to happen, but there were those who were fortunate enough to have their families, the ships come near to the Cayman Islands and to make contact with their families, or they were able to talk to them using a ship-to-shore radio as well. One caller, I believe we can accommodate that caller before we're a commercial break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, O.C. I hope you ain't going to cut me off in a minute.
No, since you're calling from the back, we'll give you special privilege.
Lord have mercy.
Haven't heard from you in a long time. I thought you were boycotting me or something.
Yes, I was.
Okay, I had it right.
You like honesty?
Yep. Best policy. The best policy.
I don't say I wasn't listening. Listen, I heard you saying something a while ago about some people trying to open up some company all over the place. They came on different places. They couldn't get through with it.
Yes.
But they could go all them other big countries and do all.
To the U.S., Delaware. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go England too?
Yes, UK as well, yes.
Okay,
yes.
But it's only the Cayman Islands that is doing wrong when it comes to the financial things.
Mm-hmm. They're using us as scapegoats.
Yes, that's what making me sick in England. They want all the companies come back up there. That's why it is. They just want the Cayman Islands go back to where they use currency in Ireland again.
Yep.
And it's not you saying it. I'm saying it.
Yeah, and I'll say it too. I'll say it definitely.
I don't care who's hearing me. It could be the highest in England to the highest in Cayman. I'm talking the facts. And I say Caymanians, stand up for the rights. Don't make this place go down, especially you people up in government. And one more thing, O.C., before you cut me off.
Sure.
I've been saying this for a long, long time up at the hospital here. when it's raining, you don't have nowhere like what you have down there where you can drive under for a patient to come out, even if it want to go in a wheelchair, that they can keep from getting wet.
No covered area.
They only got one little walkway that's way up by the director ward to the nurse's station then.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's blowing 10 miles an hour, the water wet you up. Just a little skinny walkway.
Okay.
And I ain't afraid to say it, so I hope they hear me.
We hope they're listening, and we want to make things as comfortable as possible for the patients who are coming in there.
Cayman Island government, especially you two black representatives, get something done out front by the main entrance, especially when I got them two wheelchair ramp mark. Put something there that someone can drive up and land off someone without the person getting wet, especially if they can't walk properly and think somebody got to help them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, look, I don't care. I talk straight, O'Shea, you know that.
Oh, yes.
And I said that if Georgetown can have such luxury, put something here, even if you got shift out toward the parking lot, put them somewhere else.
Yep.
All right, sir?
Thank you very much,
Thank
number
you
one,
for
for
your
that. I hope I gave you enough time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your show.
Great. Thank you very much, too. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break now. For the record, we'll return immediately after the short break. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record.
Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Not bad. Steve McFeel here.
Yes, sir.
You were talking about the Cayman shop this morning.
Yep.
Well, I have two things. I'll talk about that a little bit. Then I have another thing I want to request for you to do.
Okay.
All the music that we hear now.
We're getting an echo from you, to Doc.
All the music that we're hearing now. It's new music. It's not the traditional music that we grew up with. We grew up listening to Cracker Jim and Nashville, Tennessee, and all of those things. It's country and western music. Those were the music that we played on the ships, especially in their Christmas time when we couldn't come home. It was all nostalgic music. And the music that came back in the 1950s, we brought the music back. Some of the first records came in here. We came with Orchestra Patterson and Bossy Bird and all of those people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When the Dutch ships would come in and pick up the men and would take them down to Aruba and Curacao to unload the ships, and then would, on their way back to Holland, they would drop them off again. The first kind of music that they brought in was the merengue music from those ports that they went to. The merengue music was the first kind of music that came up here, and then afterwards the Seamen started bringing home American music. We brought home Elvis Presley records, and we brought home all the records of the times. When we brought them home, that was a big thing. There were two places that we could go, because remember now, in the 1950s came out was segregated.
Mm-hmm.
And there were two places that the colored men could go to listen to their music. One was at the Blueberry Hill, which you just mentioned,
mm-hmm.
at Biggest and Lil One's place, and one was the Country Club, up there where Junior Shop was. There was a place that, run by a man called Britain.
Yeah.
Yes, and was Country Club. And we used to play the music up there. And
Britain was a Miles, right? Was he a Miles? Britain Miles? Miles?
He was Dalmin Miles' brother.
Mm-hmm.
He was up in Ponside.
Yes.
And then Orchestra Patterson was the one who started formally to have the first sound system. The sound system dances, Patterson started to have that. And then he would go play in different for parties and things like that. But most of the music were played at parties, because that was the social event that people would bring home, especially when the men came home. They would have parties at their homes. And so I was telling some school children the other day that I had brought home a pickup, and they said, "Mr. Steve, you had a pickup truck." And I had to explain to them what a pickup was.
Uh-huh.
A pickup was a record player.
Yeah.
and it it was a small record player, like a box, had a handle. You could carry it around with you, and it had those vinyl records, those 45s, and you could just drop down. You could drop 10, 15, 20 of them down and still play.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why it got its name Pickup, because you could stack the records on it, and when one finished playing, the arm would swing, and when that swung back, then the other record would drop down, and then the arm would swing and drop down on that record and play it. Yes,
that's right. And it had a nice sound on it, nice sound. And I remember one time I went down to it wasn't called Dog City then. It was called Walker's Road, I think it was, Walker's Road. And there were some girls living down there. They were young. Remember Sherlock's daughters and all of those people? Yep. And Bossa Bird and I were chasing them. And I took my pickup down there, and we went down to Dora's place to buy Mo Bear. Remember Dora's?
Yep. And on the waterfront.
We didn't hear any music. So I said to the girls, "What happened to the pickup?" They say your mother came and took it, and say that was belonged to Baba, your sister. And I had to carry it down there. So they're right. It's not the music they play now is not really our music. We got caught up into this, and it's a shame that we allow other people to come and change our culture, and even our music, even the Caymanian music. You don't hear it anymore unless Swanky plays it.
Well, Radio Cayman, you hear it on here all the time.
Yeah, sometimes. Another thing I want to ask you about, and this is a serious matter now.
Okay.
It's not about the team and stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's about the speaker utterances in the public. Now, you still have the radio station. You're still behind the mic. You have a lot of room to be able to educate people.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been on your radio station, and we have been talking about the role of the speaker and so forth. I think what the speaker is doing right now is completely out of order, and a lot of people on Facebook and on the commentary sections of CNS and all, I was talking about his behavior, and the speaker ought not to be in England or any place else talking about people and talking about anything that comes before him in the legislature, before it comes before him in the legislature. The speaker is supposed to be neutral. He's not supposed to be interested in a spokesman in politics, whether it's for the premier or against the premier, or whether it's for the opposition or against the opposition, or the government or against the government. That is not the role of the speaker. He's not a minister anymore. He's a speaker now. He's the father. He's not even the father of the house. He's the guardian of the house, and he's supposed to be completely neutral. In fact, under traditions of the Constitution, and especially in other jurisdictions, the speaker does not have to contest his seat to run for election, because all the parties agree that he should come back unopposed, so that he does not have to engage in the politics to get elected. And so what he's doing now is completely immoral, and it's completely illegal, and it does not fit right with the role of the speaker. And a lot of people have called me from abroad and asked me, how is it that we have a speaker who is engaged in politics, not only in the Cayman and abroad? And that is wrong. And I think you should use your radio station to keep reminding the Caymanian people about the role of these different people under the Constitution, and what their offices entail and what their duties are, because it's completely wrong. Certainly
will do that, Doc. And thanks for pointing that out. I had the same thought, as a matter of fact. In our council, Rockwool Council, I actually discussed it, with a few people as well. And I ask you to leave us there, Doc. We have one more call. I'm going to try to accommodate that caller before our headline news at 9 o'clock. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
I gave up my place to Dr. Steve.
Okay.
So I'm not going to have much time now.
Well, the devil can always fit in anywhere he wants to.
No.
If we let him.
Talking about Blueberry Hill and those places, Ivan was well up there them days.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, around that time too, we used to have parties at the courthouse upstairs.
That's right. And there used to be something called basket parties. I remember
Yes.
hearing that terminology, basket party.
And I know all of these girls after someone went to New York and come back. I met one last year, and I looked at her, and I got and talked with her. Couldn't remember her name. I say, "You from Georgetown?" Yeah. Used to be at the parties at the courthouse. Say, yeah, Mr. When I was there. And that we were very stupid. The funeral should be there, and that place should be actually rocking with us up there. That could have broken up with us, we wouldn't realize. And then from Town, we went to Blueberry Hill. And I know all about that. They were very popular up there. At that time, I had a car, so I don't have to say no more than that. And going back to going to see my first trip was, besides going to Muscatine, I went there at 52. But first trip at National Park was 14th of October 1954. We went to Jacksonville, joined a T2 tanker, and went around 4 ports in Brazil to discharge it. And was a full Cayman crew besides some officers. And I think it's 3 of us left now, or 4. Myself, Mr. Lee Jackson from Savannah, Crosby Walton, Leek Banks. He lives in Port Arthur.
Okay.
So we were a full Cayman crew, and I worked in the galley with Henry Bush and Montgomery Bush. So I don't need to say no more. So I want to see a galley again till many years after that. I went on deck after that and worked myself able-born seaman. And I got my papers then, my green card, and I joined the union, got a Coast Guard ticket and joined the union NMU. And the first job came up that I could have got was a third cook job going to Korea. So I took that model cookbook, and I was just stayed in the department I was in, so I didn't have to fight with that cold on deck.
On deck,
so,
yes, yeah.
So and this same captain, the name of the ship was Kaposha. And 12 years after that, I sailed with him on American ship.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Yeah, going to same, you name it, Thorson, Captain Thorson, Norwegian, drink Peter.
Caller, we have to break for headline news at 9 o'clock. Sorry, I have to interrupt you there, but I want to thank you very much, for all of those memories as well. And when you get an opportunity, one of these times, you can tell us about when you were also a diver. Or at least you told them that you had experience, that you knew how to well underwater and stuff like that. You can tell us that story as well.
All right. I think it mixed me up with Shepherd Brandon.
Okay, take care. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the headline news. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. One caller on the line. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
See, one question. Why today now, if you go to a bank and if you don't have a membership at a bank, they don't cash your check?
My understanding is that they charge you a fee. Some places it's maybe $5 or $10.
They just wouldn't cash your check.
They just won't cash it. This is one particular, and you don't need to call the name, but this is one particular bank you're talking about? Or have you been to several?
It's only one check that I not call the name. I want to find it if I can call the name because it's the truth. Yeah. I went there Tuesday to cash a check. And they say, well, how account here, we don't cash from January or February is a law that we don't cash checks no more The only how you can get your cash now if you carry it back to the person that write it out and he cash it and give it to you. That's what
And the check was drawn on that particular bank that you went to?
On that particular bank.
Okay. I don't know if it's a law or whether or not it is just basically there in their own bank policy that they won't do that, because you may recall that several people were complaining about the fact that when you go to some of these financial institutions that they were charging these exorbitant fees to cash it for you. So, if you did a job for someone and they paid you $100, you go to the bank to cash it, and you only get $95 or something like that.
Some were charging $3 and all that. It was this specific bank is the only one right now that's charging you $5. You might know which bank I'm talking about too. I go to other I cash other checks from certain banks, and they said no, they don't charge you no more. But this specific bank still does it.
I would say the next time, ask them to show you something in writing that there's a law that prohibits them from cashing the check for you if you don't have an account there. It probably has something to do with this compliance and know your customer situation. What you find is that some of those financial institutions, because of their past history, and no fault of the customers, but because of their own lax internal procedures, may have gotten caught up in some of those incidents that may have caused them to come to the attention of regulators, not necessarily here in Cayman but somewhere else, and now trying to close the door, and they're now squeezing people more so, because you can over-regulate as well, and I believe that is basically what some of them are doing. Some of them are being so cautious. It's like you not wanting to get a speeding ticket, so when the speed limit says is at 40 miles an hour, some people drive at 30 because I want to make sure that I don't go over the speed limit, when you can go up to 40 miles an hour.
But is the government know anything about that? That's how going on right now?
I can't say for certain.
Oh. Because I know if you don't have an account there, if it's for that bank, they will cash it. But like what you say now, they take out some fee, but it's only so far in the last 7 months that I been doing a job in the car. I carried to one other bank, and they said no, they don't do it anymore. I said, well, that's good because I don't want to lose them my money. But this one Pacifica takes out $5.
Yeah.
And this one now, I don't know if the other rest of banks do it. If anybody else have the same experience, they can come and explain. This bank turned me saying we don't cash it no more.
And it was one of their checks. It
was one of those personal checks.
Yes.
And not like I go in now to my bank. I can understand if I go to my bank now, can I call them which bank I bank with? I bank to CMB.
Yeah. Okay.
If I went to their bank now, say, well, no, we can't take a check because it belongs to us. That I can understand that. That's different. But you go to that personal bank and say the only how you can get your cash is carry it back to the one that read it, and he come and cash it.
Because you would think, caller, that because the check is drawn on that particular financial institution, that they would have right at their fingertips all of the information in relation to that particular account. So they would know whether or not there's enough money in there to honor that check and everything else. I mean, what would be more reliable than one of their checks?
But they were saying, with one of them checks, should it be corrupted?
Well, they should be the first to know then, right?
They're the first one should know if this man is corrupted or this man doing something that's legal or what. Yeah. Because it's personally coming down why they are giving a man a check and if he's doing something wrong. And he's a born Caymanian, which I'm not saying Caymanian don't do things like that, but he's a born Caymanian.
Yeah, I think what happens with us too many times, we take people's word when they tell us that something, and we ask them to show it to us in writing, call a manager a supervisor, someone who can explain to me exactly what in the world is going on with this. Yeah.
You know how I say something when my mouth is loud.
Well, sometimes that's what you have to do when you get the
attention. Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes I rather just walk out and go to my bank and deposit in, but at the time I just need some cash.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody don't like my loud mouth.
Yep.
But I have to be like Ezra too. I can call his name because he said on the radio, and I don't blame him. But that's something. If more people having more problem with, everybody should get together. No man, this can't happen here, man. But the main thing, they want you to back with them. That's the main thing, also.
Yeah. Okay, caller. I want to thank you, for that.
Hello. One question. What time you in Ireland going for a ride?
Can't give that out of the air. That's top secret stuff.
Come on,
you'll have to call me later. Call me later on. Probably later down in the year.
Yeah. So you still remember my number because I can't remember you. What your number is again? At 916 what?
0135.
It's 0135.
Yep.
Okay. Because I want to call about something too.
Okay. All right. Take care. Folks, I promise you that we had a press release from the Office of the Leader of the Opposition. I'm going to read that for you now. It says, the Honorable Ezra Miller and MLA Mr. Christopher Saunders have issued the following statement following their return to Cayman on Wednesday night, 16th of May, from the recent UK celebration of the 60th anniversary of the coat of arms of the Cayman Islands. We were impressed, and I'm quoting them now, we were impressed with the representation by the artisans and the musicians who travel to London for the celebrations marking the 60th anniversary of our coat of arms. The reception, which attracted a large turnout, was a wonderful event. Our artisans represented Cayman well and did us proud. The large audience was captivated by the demonstrations of aspects of our cultural heritage, such as rope making and thatch work. Swanky was also a popular hit, with many members of the audience gyrating happily to their music, especially to the swanky song, to the new swanky song. So, as far as the celebration was concerned, the visit was a success. The audience seemed intrigued with our long association and history with the United Kingdom, and such events should strengthen our relationship with the UK. I have my doubts about that, but I'll take your word for it for now, but I don't believe it. Because many of the people in the UK don't know about the Cayman Islands, don't know what we stand for, even some of the members of Parliament, and I will tell you when I finish reading this what one of them had to say about the Cayman Islands when a gentleman by the name of Mr. Cox, I believe he's a lawyer. I'll tell you more about that. Let me finish reading this first. So what I disagree with, I'll read it again. The audience seemed intrigued with our long association and history with the United Kingdom, and such events should strengthen our relationship with the UK. So they say should. It didn't say will, should. So possibly can, maybe not. On the business side, the opposition members attended one meeting with Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon, the FCO minister with responsibilities for the overseas territories and the Caribbean. On return since Wednesday night, we have been informed that the Premier and the remaining members of the delegation have been engaged in further high-level meetings, including that with Prime Minister Theresa May. We look forward to an update on their return. So that's a statement from the leader of the opposition. We have one caller, but before we go there, I just want to say to you again, I continue to read because it is it is important for us to understand how the other persons are thinking, what they think about us, how they think, because that is the only way that you're able to confront them, that you're able to combat what they're doing, that you have to get into their heads. You have to know where they're coming from, what they're thinking about. 1st of May, the discussions on the sanctions and anti-money laundering bill. A gentleman by the name of Cox, I believe his name is Jeffrey Cox, but I stand to be corrected. But he pointed out that he has been to the jurisdictions, especially the Cayman Islands, that he has tried cases here in the Cayman Islands. So he first of all pointed out, wanted for the record to show that he had an interest in in territories. When he expressed his concerns about breaches of the UK's constitutional arrangement with the Cayman Islands, one of the other members of Parliament retorted through the Speaker to say what they pointed out was that here was this gentleman who it appears had more responsibility and were for more responsibility to the Cayman Islands than to his constituency in the United Kingdom. One of the other members of Parliament questioned that and pointed that out, that here is this gentleman, our MP, our UK MP, and it appears as if he has more allegiance to the Cayman Islands than to his own constituency. Of course, that was a political maneuver that person made. But for those of you who continue to say, we are part of the UK, we want to remain a part of the UK, let me tell you something. Many people in the UK do not consider us to be a part of them, and that is why we have to think seriously about finding other options as well. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, O.C. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Pretty good. Nice rain coming on up here.
Oh, that's good. I hope it... I was going to say, hope it's coming our way. That's probably moving north, so it's already past us.
Nice rain. Yeah, O.C., I got to remind you, when you were talking about the passports the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I remember it was on the 13th of August, 1968, that I got my first passport.
Okay.
You know?
Uh-huh.
And it was signed by Mr. Dennis Foster.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And, it was quite a good long procedure to go through to get, at least for me to get it. My mom didn't really want us to go to sea,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So she knew everybody was hated to sea, you know. I mean, all of my buddies had gone to sea, you know. And, I really sort of regret sometimes about not getting the experience, you know. When I listened to a lot of the guys that went to sea, you know. But, I sort of regret not going to sea. On another note, you still there?
Yep, still here. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah, I remember when you were going to New York. Was that sometime in '66 or?
1967. Remember when I used to work out at Miss Alice's gas station?
Right. So somebody had mentioned to me, or I don't know, it might have been you. I can't recall, but that it was. That Barclays Bike had needed someone to act as a messenger, and
possibly may have been me, because I used to get a lot of information out there.
Anyway, I took the job and I was there for about 2 years, and during that 2 years, that's why I was sort of like sped up the time to get my passport, and I was headed to sea, but the man that was running the Cayman Weekly, talked me into coming to work with them.
Mm-hmm. That would have been Billy Borden then?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, most of the seamen, he was this Mr. Billy Borden was, he knew a lot of them, and they always used to pass through by the Cayman Weekly office right there, and Edward Street, I think it is. That's where it was at the time. But I got a chance to see a lot of the seamen and Miss Gwen office. It wasn't too far.
Right opposite the post office.
Man, it was interesting. It was always, I was always wanting to hear a lot about their experiences in the different ports, especially when they it's a Mobile. They used to mention about Mobile. Hello?
Mobile, Alabama. Yes.
Yeah. And well, Atley and all the other ones right across the street, Vaughan, they used to bring back a lot of the music, And I remember when these songs came out with the Drifters.
Yeah.
Under the boardwalk and stuff like that.
Yes. And Otis Redding was a big hit those days too. Yes.
Yeah, man. And Benny King.
Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Right. But see, I got leave it shortly. Last night was quite an interesting night for us. Yesterday we celebrated 49 years being married,
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Not many people can say that these days,
Yeah, some people not even 49 days, but just 49 years, So we went across by Brock Reef, and I ran into a good old friend, Kayaso. And believe it or not, man, he made overnight, man. He well entertained with old jokes, some different, even some seamen, Man, it was so entertaining. I don't think we could have planned that, that was unbelievable. Thanks again, O.C.
Okay, take care, and belated happy 48th anniversary. Take care. Let's take a break. We still have one caller, I believe. One caller, but we need to take one more commercial break before we go off air. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller. I believe we're going to probably make that the last call for the morning. We may be able to squeeze one more in depending on how long this call takes. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Oseen. Good morning to all our listeners.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Yes, doing okay. I am at tournament control today, busy alongside the radio, doing all the monitoring and recording all the catches, time in, time out. Just to say, we have 14 boats up from Grand Cayman in the Bright Jackpot tournament today. So far, they have caught 2 barracudas, only landed 2 barracudas. They got started. First boat was... lines out was at 7 a.m. This is going to go on till today, tomorrow, and Sunday, 3 days. It started out with a rainy morning, but 2 boats came in and they gone back out. So we have actually 11 boats that is out there fishing today around Cayman Brack and Little Cayman.
Okay.
Yes,
so hopefully fish will be plentiful in the Brack on the weekend then if they catch some.
Hope so, yes. So far, it's only 2 barracudas, like I said, caught so far.
My favorite fish.
Yes, sir. Okay, and I would like to say that, first, my deepest sympathy and condolences to Captain Darwin Tibbett's family.
Yes.
And last night, I carried out a seaman's honor off Cayman Brack for Captain Darwin Tibbett. I called in a ship passing off a spot bay, and they turned on all the searchlights and the deck lights. It was all lit at midnight. I left from the house and went up on the bluff where I could see it. The ocean was lit up, and that was in memory of Captain Darwin Tibbett. The late Captain Darwin Tibbett was a friend of mine, and very sad he has passed away, and I had him remembered last night by the Saga Viking coming from Brazil loaded with slabs of paper pulp for making paper. 652-foot long ship, and it passed with all the lights on. From 12 midnight, the lights were switched on, and 12:30, the lights were switched off. And that was not many people seen it because of the time it was, but I had it carried out at midnight to 12:30 last night as a remembrance for Captain Darwin and his great seaman's career, being a master mariner, captain of bulk carriers, captain of tankers, for national bulk carriers.
Yeah. Did you have other people on the bluff watching it as well? People.
No, sir. It was only me and my family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no one else. I did just arrange for it like 1 hour before the ship reached there. And at that time of night, there's hardly anybody going to go out at midnight. So
okay. Yes.
I am arranging to have other ships to come by, hoping to get one to come by tomorrow while the funeral is taking place, to do a salute in honor of Captain Darwin Tibbetts. That's what I got planned. Any ship that is coming north of Cayman Brac will attempt to have it directed to do the maritime salute for Captain Darwin.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, and I trust and hope that the fishing tournament that goes as planned, that everything runs smoothly. People catch a lot of fish as well. So I want to thank you for that update from the BRAC. Again, before I close off, I just want to point out some of the steps. The 21st of May, put an asterisk on your calendar for that. That is the date that this sanctions and anti-money laundering bill will go to the House of Lords. Now, in the UK Parliament, it is referred to as the ping pong, like a ping pong ball when you're playing ping pong back and forth. So this bill now, amendment to the bill, going from the House of Commons to the House of Lords. We are not certain what will happen there, whether or not the House of Lords will agree to the contents of the amendments, or whether or not they will have amendments of their own and then send it back to the House of Commons. Whatever happens at the end of the day, if the bill passes, then we're going to have to go to the next level in the Cayman Islands and other jurisdictions as well to make constitutional challenges. Based on my readings, based of the debate taking place in the House of Commons, it appears as if many of the MPs in the UK are concerned about the constitutional issue, about the constitutional challenge. I believe and I trust that the government, members of the government, know exactly what those issues are and can see them coming down the line, and hopefully that any challenge on a constitutional grounds will be successful, because they all seem to express concerns about that. Wish I could talk more about that. I could tell you more in depth about that, but hopefully on one of my other shows I will be able to do that. But I will encourage those of you who are interested in knowing that, just Google UK Parliament, go into their search engine there and type in sanctions and anti-money laundering bill, and then you can look for the dates, 1st of May 2018. There you can find the debate on that. That was the same time there were two amendments that were being discussed then. Clause 6 and 14. 14 was dropped because it had to do with the Crown dependencies. 6 had to do with the overseas territories. It's still there. And I think they also were discussing the Maninski bill as well at that point in time. But Google UK Parliament, sanctions and anti-money laundering bill. Look for the date, the 1st of May, and you can see exactly what the UK parliamentarians think about the Cayman Islands, those who speak positively about it and those who feel we are part of Britain and we have to stand in line and we have to do what the UK wants us to do. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day, have a great weekend, continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12 noon for a talk today. And of course, Monday being a holiday, Discovery Day here in the Cayman Islands, there will be no For the Record. So you may then join me on Wednesday when Mr. Kenneth Bryan is scheduled to be our guest as well. So to all of you, have a great weekend. For those of you who will spend some time burying your loved ones this weekend, again, our condolences go out to all of you. And as usual, we can't end by not asking the good Lord to bless these three wonderful, beautiful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is
informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record.